My girlfriend and I had a fight so bad we decided to break up. She doesn't remember it? Yeah, so basically, last night my GF and I had a pretty nasty argument which culminated in us deciding we need to break up. Afterwards, she cried for a while. After which I came in and apologized, then wished her luck and told her I'll always care about her, even when we're living separate lives. I cried too. She ended up having a panic attack, hyperventilating, and asking me if she can breathe. I kept reassuring her it's okay, and trying to comfort her even when she wouldn't let me touch her. Afterwards she was almost non-responsive, only answering with occasional nods. Then she had a second panic attack. This time she kept asking me to shut the lights off, even though it was pitch black. She was also asking me why it's so noisy even though it was quiet and 3 a.m. She was begging the noise to stop and eventually started bargaining for me to end her there. I didn't know what to do, so I let her go through the motions while making sure she didn't hurt herself. Eventually she calmed down, so I left her there as I was probably the trigger. She fell asleep, and I sicked around for a few hours. When I woke her up later she was as happy as she usually is first thing in the morning. A little bit confused but otherwise wanting hugs and kisses and attention and whatnot. At first I thought she was faking it in a desperate last-bit attempt, but after asking her about it really seems like she has absolutely no memory of last night. She was just my girlfriend again, like nothing happened. I told her everything that happened, I told her why it happened, and I told her how I feel now. She doesn't remember and is assuring me she loves me and never wants to break up. To be honest, I don't really either, but our fight just got unhealthy. There's a lot of details I left out, but that's what I see as the most important parts. Comment. I would strongly encourage medical or professional help. Not addressing this is begging for it to repeat, and she needs to understand the underlying issues that caused this episode for her own safety and for your mental well-being as well. And if she refuses, maybe get her family involved to help her, as she can't be relying on you solely to be there through this if it were to happen again, especially when you've made up your mind and did not want to continue seeing her before this even happened. Failed to mention she has bipolar disorder. Essentially she had a psychotic break, and instead of taking her to the hospital or calling her trusted friends/family, he just decided to leave her hallucinating the whole night. Honestly, this is so sad and neglectful. I hope she is able to get the support she needs. When I was unstable I went to a friend's house and slept over and thought I heard them whispering about me all night. I thought I was being a burden to them, so I got up in the middle of the night and left. My friends were obviously confused as fuck about what happened. Sleep demons is not a psychiatric symptom or diagnosis, so it's also not a symptom of bipolar. Sleep paralysis is an independent issue altogether. Hallucination is a potential symptom of bipolar during a durable mood episode. This lady was completely cleared by morning. This was not about bipolar. I'm not a doctor and this isn't a diagnosis, but it sounds like it could possibly be schizoaffective disorder. Some of the symptoms are similar to bipolar disorder, but it also includes hallucinations and psychotic episodes. Regardless of what her specific condition is, she likely would benefit from speaking with a mental health professional to understand what might have happened and how to help manage these symptoms if/when they arise. As far as the breakup goes, UP is under no obligation to stay in this relationship if it isn't a healthy fit. You are not responsible for her mental well-being, and you don't need to sacrifice your own mental health trying to help her. I think based on the details that you didn't share in your post, you probably already know what is the right path forward for you both. I mean, it's not something that any given bipolar person experiences frequently, but it's a thing that can happen, especially if you're unmedicated. My Mill had it happen for about a week a few years back, and when she came out of it she couldn't remember anything from that week at all. The memory gap actually finally convinced her to take her meds consistently. They are not. It's the far end of the spectrum. It's not good when people have them. Sort of hospital time. Common enough to be part of bipolar, but definitely out there, sever sort of thing. Terribly unfortunate for people who have that. The crossover of psychosis and hallucinations is never good. You're acting like he should have automatically known what to do when really anyone unfamiliar faced with this scenario would be baffled. Hindsight is 20/20ths, and I see nothing in OP's post or history of posts that demonstrates an intimate knowledge of psychotic break behavior. Story 2. My best friend/father figure's wife is trying to erase me after he died suddenly. *Edit. I am getting very tired of these comments of assumption like I'm bothering her constantly. I said my condolences right after he passed, and then once more 2 weeks later as I noticed she dropped things off at my house, removed me from the family account, and blocked me on his accounts. Obviously I'm trying to communicate to get my things back and to clarify if I'm being erased intentionally. I'm communicating like an adult, I'm not prying anyone. I also sent my condolences to the daughters immediately, and then checked in a week later with them. Secondly, to go out of your way to return gifts, 2 days later, and to even go as far as blocking me on his accounts is clearly malicious and spiteful. It's one thing to want to move on, it's another to be malicious and immediately remove everything she can. Lastly, for every nasty middle-aged woman on here who are clearly taking my post personally, I'm not interested in your nasty negative comments that include trying to skew the reality of our relationship into some sick, twisted, sexual bullshit. Old miserable wives trying to pretend like I'm the problem for building a friendship with this man because he had a family. You are the problem and your miserable marriages aren't welcome here. Move along in your misery. Not every family is bound by blood. Thank you. And yes, I'll fight back in my comments. Y'all think you can just talk to people like shit and expect them to bend over backwards to your twisted opinions *. Original post, I'm at a loss for words. Please be kind as I just lost someone extremely dear to me suddenly and tragically. This man was a father figure in my life, a best friend, a support system, everything, and now that he has passed away his wife has tried to erase me. My dad died young and I grew up in a very broken and abusive home. I met this man 6 years ago at our workplace and we became very good friends. I used to play with his daughters at school. We were the best of friends, and it just so happened that life reconnected us through a mutual workplace. Our relationship was strictly platonic and he kind of just naturally became that sort of father figure in my life as we got closer. He would help me hang paintings on my wall, help with my car troubles, fix the hair-clogged drain, LOL, things dads help with that I never experienced in life and was so thankful for. I even got close with his family and reconnected with his daughters since we were childhood friends. They would invite me to family dinner nights. I'd pick them up from their family vacations. They would have sleepovers with my dog. His wife and I were always very friendly and she would ask my opinions about girl things etc. We shared family accounts, we would look through old home photo books together since I was also in them as a kid. I truly felt like I had an extended family and we were all on the same page, and that life had reconnected us all those years after our childhood friendship fizzled out. I made sure to ask multiple times that his family doesn't think our friendship was weird, and he always assured me not. They were happy. A week before he passed away I tried to see him. I knew death was near, his health declined rapidly. He was diagnosed with the most aggressive and fatal brain cancer a person can possibly have. His wife didn't allow me to come by and always came up with an excuse as to why. I tried to see him twice but didn't want to push too much as the diagnosis and reality of the cancer was extremely difficult on us all. 2 days after he passed away his wife dropped things off at my door, such as presents I had gifted him for Father's Day, things of my dogs, random things he helped store in his garage, etc. I found this kind of odd considering he passed away suddenly and tragically, and 2 days later she's leaving stuff on my doorstep without even a message. But, everyone grieves differently so I tried not to think too much into it. We shared a mutual family account and I noticed right away I was deleted from the profile. After 2 weeks I reached out again offering my support and condolences, but she told me to take care. I thought this was very strange but once again, I know people grieve and process death differently. I then mentioned I have things of mine at their house and if I would be able to grab them from the garage without disturbing her, and she said all the doors and locks are changed and she will get them for me. I instantly knew something was up after those responses so I quickly went online and saw that she blocked me on his Facebook and Instagram account. I'm in shock. Not only from the death, the cancer, but from the way she's treating me now that he's gone. I never expected to have a friendship with her after he passed, I just figured maybe at the least some communication? It's obvious she held negative feelings towards me this entire time and when she finally had a chance to control it, she didn't allow me to see him one last time before he passed. I am very angry about that and I know I need to move on, however, as a grown adult woman I expect someone to be able to communicate. And if she never liked me, why was it never brought up? It feels very strange to think you were on family-like terms with someone, and to almost live amongst them, only to imply they have some strange, negative feelings towards you after the death. To even go as far as blocking me. Comment. It's not going to be easy, but you will need to grieve his loss on your own. I am sorry for that. You may never get any answers or explanations you want, but you need to respect the distance she has made. As you said, we all react to loss differently, and this is what she needs now. Whether it makes sense or not. Don't pry and lurk around. But keep an avenue of communication open if the family feels comfortable contacting you in the future. Remember the time you had with the family and the lessons you learned from him. She had issues with your friendship with her husband and does not have the bandwidth to deal with your grief. If you need your things, contact the daughters and express your condolences and ask them to get your stuff. If they want to have a relationship with you past this, they will. This chapter is over, take the good memories and move on. Pushing a connection will only tarnish what you had. I wouldn't open myself up to any negative feedback you might get on the family's perspective of your relationship. I think it is also feasible that he may not have wanted anyone that wasn't his close family to see him in what was likely a very vulnerable state. A 6-year-old friendship is not very long at all to a person in their 50s, and as it seems he declined very quickly, it would make sense for him to want to spend the little time and energy he had left with his actual family and old friends. Very true. My dad didn't want anyone visiting him in the hospital other than me, and his girlfriend. So many people were texting me to visit. They were ready to travel all over. He told me tell them all no. He had stage 4 stomach cancer and wasn't able to walk from being so weak and not able to eat, so he looked incredibly ill. He was always the life of the party, and I think it hurt him more than anything having people see him as not being that anymore. That's a good point. Op may feel more deeply for this friendship than he ever did, and it's hard to see because she's the op. No hate on her, but misinterpreting the depth of a relationship is common. Thinking about how guilty I felt when a casual friend of mine referred to me as her best friend. Yeah, I can say from my experience with my dad passing away from cancer, I felt really uncomfortable with anyone outside of our close family visit him. People from the bar he frequented tried to come up to say goodbye, and while it was very nice of them and I'm sure they were trying to get some kind of closure, it just wasn't appropriate. Even my mom, my dad's ex-wife, didn't come up. They were friends, but she didn't feel it was really her place. There's a reason for funeral services, and it'd be different if the wife banned her from those funeral services, but someone actively dying is a private event. He might have said something while he was dying that upset her. A confession of feelings for you that were not fatherly, for example. I'm sorry if this is hurtful, it's not my intent. It just seems so sudden and cold, after the way she used to treat you. Or maybe she's convinced there was more to your relationship.